led to article after article of people being like, Ellen's a bitch. Ellen is a nasty person. And all these staffers started to come out, not for nothing, but I know a guy, I know him very well, whose sister worked for her, who said, you were not allowed to make eye contact with Ellen in the halls of that show. If you saw her, this is not a nice person.
Ellen's rough.
Ellen is like an old.
But it's a rough one now.
It's a rough one now because she was running Abu Ghraib in the back of her show. That's a rough one. She's out there dancing with Kristen Bell, and in the back, there's people that are getting up on the rack. Like,
you could never have predicted Ellen DeGeneres the grinning and dancing in a tag team truth fest that turns daytime drama into a bedtime tale. Megyn Kelly and Joe Rogan completely destroy the be kind icon. One moment, she's giving out secrets, and the next, she's catching fireballs of searing honesty. You won't believe this one. Megyn arrived with insider information. Roger brought the flamethrower of uncensored questions. And Ellen, let's just say that the only thing dancing right now is her reputation. What did they reveal that has Hollywood trembling with their talk shows?
I have a question for you on this. This is perfect for you. Because I'm seeing this week that there is an attempted comeback by somebody who did not cross one of those fateful lines of the misstepping on their sacred cows of gender or race or sexuality.
Yeah.
But she was said to be a nasty biatch, and that's Ellen DeGeneres.
Yeah.
So her show got canceled after she had this testy exchange with Dakota Johnson, where something happened where Dakota said, oh, I had this birthday party. And Ellen said, well, why didn't you invite me? You didn't invite me. And she said, like, no, I did invite you, Ellen. That's not what happened. And Ellen had blown her off and then tried to play the victim on the set with her. Anyway, it led to article after article of people being like, Ellen's a bitch. Ellen is a nasty person.
Now, so I think it's the early stages. I would think it might take a little bit with this one.
When someone crosses the writer strike, that's some dirty shit. They cross the picket line.
Yeah, I haven't seen anybody doing that yet.
I think Ellen did. I had a buddy of mine who was writing on Ellen. Everybody kind of knows now what she's really all about. And that's another one of those. Like, I'm so nice and I'm so sweet. Mean behind the scenes.
Megyn Kelly and Joe Rogan completely destroyed that version of Ellen DeGeneres when she was the undisputed queen of daytime TV. The perpetually happy, dancing, feel-good guru who somehow persuaded millions that kindness was her superpower. Let me tell you, the true story behind that sunny persona is far darker than a soggy Monday morning.
Ellen situation.
Yeah.
You know, people found out that Ellen was mean, and all these people came out and said, Ellen's actually a bitch. And they were like, whoa.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. And she lost everything. She fell apart, disappeared, because people found out that this character that she was portraying in a half an hour on a television show is not really who she was. My buddy Greg, who was one of her writers, was like, she's a piece of shit. And he was like, she's a monster.
Recall the phrase, be kind. Ellen pushed it down our throats as if it were the formula for global peace mugs, teas, and banners. It seemed like the generosity you couldn't escape Kool-Aid. You'd believe she was a saint who worked all day making sweaters for orphans and giving puppies away. However, beneath that flawless smile was allegedly a workplace where fear and favoritism reigned like royalty, colder than the North Pole's forgotten freezer aisle.
You know, but I hadn't already known that because I had a buddy who worked for her. Like, and he was like, she's a monster.
Yeah. I didn't really had a lot of awareness. You probably did just from being in the business.
I only did because of my buddy.
Yeah.
My buddy Greg, who was one of her writers, was like, she's a piece.
I didn't know enough to be surprised.
Megyn Kelly, while Ellen danced and laughed on camera, the journalistic ninjas revealed a toxic culture so vile that it makes reality TV seem like a kumbaya campfire. Behind the scenes, staff members were apparently acting more like they were trying out for The Walking Dead, Office Edition, which isn't exactly the same as feeling good. Be kind pledged.
Here's the capper. On the promo, and apparently there's now articles out about from people who have seen the preview. She plays the victim. And she says, poor me. And she actually has the nerve to say that she was run out of Hollywood. This person
with $100 million in her pocket.
$450 million, according to Forbes. That's a low estimate.
Joe Rogan was not here for the spin either. The podcast king used a scalpel to cut through the PR nonsense and expose Ellen's expertly constructed image, revealing a tale of power struggles, emotional gaslighting, and a well-oiled machine that turned disaster after disaster into daytime TV gold. It's almost amazing, like watching a magician who is so terrible at magic that you can see the strings supporting the entire performance.
Stephen Paddock.
Who's that?
He was the guy that shot up the Vegas concert. That was a very tragic thing. Listen to this. The only guy that saw Stephen Paddock alive, his name's Jesus Campos. He was a guard at Mandalay Bay. He got interviewed nowhere else. You know where he got interviewed in the beginning? Ellen.
Really?
Weird. And then they went on, if you could find that clip, they went on with a weird like diagram of how it happened. And Ellen's like showing the people how it happened. Not like an emotional, like, how are you feeling? How are you holding up? It was a weird diagram of like, and then he went to the left and to the right. It was very strange to look. What the hell's going on? This is a daytime show.
Which is the Paddock guy? And there's two guys there?
The chubbier guy is the Jesus guy. And now Ellen is doing a thing of how the shooting happened.
Look how she's got like an antenna from someone's Buick that she's popped up.
The actual kicker is right here. Ellen's show won awards and received praise for being a popular feel-good show during the day. But it was reputedly a poisonous hot disaster behind the cameras. Her trophy rack must be the ideal metaphor for winning Best Family Movie for a picture that, in secret, included a horror director screaming at the actors in between takes. It has no substance. Megyn, even high-profile guests reportedly felt the chill, wondering if the bubbly host was actually the boss from hell disguised as America's favorite smiley face. Kelly discovered a mess of complaints that were dismissed faster than a bad joke at a comedy roast. The staff lived in fear, afraid to speak up lest they become the next victim of Ellen's alleged wrath, because kindness apparently only applies when the cameras are rolling. Speaking of irony, the Bain brand abruptly took on the appearance of a terrible cosplay of a Disney villain grinning endearingly as they plotted your murder. Ellen supposedly crushed the souls of those who made her kingdom possible, while establishing an empire based on her teachings of love and kindness. It's similar to a vegan binge-eating meat in the walk-in refrigerator. You could cut through the cognitive dissonance with a butter knife because it is so thick.
They're saying, I was run out of Hollywood. She's actually reportedly complaining about how hard it is for women in America with the double standards.
Look at Oprah, how hard it is for her.
Oh, she's got, like 10 houses, Ellen DeGeneres?
Michelle Obama, look how hard it is for women in America. They're hurting.
They're going to let her back in, Rob, because she's a lesbian, she's a leftist, and she didn't hit one of their sacred cows. Nastiness, that's their bread and butter.
If there was ever a definition of do as I say, not as I do, Ellen nailed it. When the scandal hit, Ellen's PR team scrambled so hard you'd think they were trying to win an Olympic gold in damage control. We're investigating these claims seriously and are dedicated to changing the classic corporate speak that translates to, please forget this happened. Joe Rogan's Take Straight Savage was about a woman who allegedly ran her show like a reality TV villain and invited celebrities to share their hearts on her show while her own crew suffered behind the scenes living a nightmare. However, no amount of well-crafted words could conceal the truth, and Ellen's silence was deafening. Normally, when celebrities are publicly humiliated this severely, they immediately take to social media to apologize or boast modestly. Ellen disappeared more quickly than her kindness slogan after this revelation, and if silence is gold, hers was worth a fortune. Megyn Kelly wasn't merely making fun of Ellen. She painted a harsh picture of a workplace where kindness was a front, a costume you removed when the camera stopped recording, staff extras, performance art, smiles, and a bizarre daytime drama. Introduction 8. And admirers, those who purchased the product and accepted Ellen's message, continued to hold the Be Kind mug as if it were a joke. A punchline to a depressing tale of hypocrisy dressed in sequins and jazz hands. So the next time you see Ellen smirking across your screen with her signature smile, keep in mind that behind the scenes it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. It was a well-planned performance concealing a toxic reality that Megyn Kelly and Joe Rogan didn't hesitate to expose, because when you build your brand on kindness but run your empire like a tyrant, the fall isn't just inevitable. It's amazing to see Ellen as the living embodiment of wholesome daytime fun, but it turns out that wholesome image had more cracks than a dollar store mirror while America was busy dancing in their living rooms to DJ Twitch and Ellen's awkward shoulder shimmies. Her staff was reportedly counting the seconds until they could escape the psychological Hunger Games going on backstage, and no sponsor giveaways were offered for surviving. It's almost poetic. It's the kind of dystopia Orwell would have written if he had ever visited a green room. Ellen created this luminous empire of cheerful generosity, giving away cars and vacations like they were breath mints. while rumors circulated that she couldn't even muster a hello to her own crew unless you were famous, wealthy, or at least verified on Instagram. Imagine working 16-hour days and being told not to make eye contact with your boss because, heaven forbid, your gaze taints her aura.
Antenna from someone's Buick that she's popped off and she's using it as a pointer.
But why the hell is this happening on like a daytime show where this is weird?
Where'd she get that pointer?
I don't know. She stole it off an intern's car.
Why wouldn't you just use your finger? Like if that was you, if it was your show, the Tim Dillon show, wouldn't you just point?
Yeah, this is also a giant screen behind her, so they could have just put it on that screen.
So, but she's using this thing. I find it very strange. I don't know why.
Wait a minute, those aren't real palm.
The absurdity in his world of sweaty MMA takes and alien hypotheses was not lost on Joe Rogan. Even he found it hard to believe that a woman who was known for embracing audience members like a long-lost aunt could be causing HR nightmares and a culture of dread and quiet backstage. It's like learning that the Care Bears engaged in a pyramid scheme, and the staff members, the stories they shared, came out as though they had fled from some bizarre, pastel-colored cult accusations of racism, intimidation, relentless micromanagement, and basically all the ingredients for a toxic stew simmering behind the smiley logo. Nevertheless, the show continued to air cheesy segments about random acts of kindness, as if giving a struggling single mother a check would silence the sound of morale breaking in the editing bay. Megyn Kelly exposed the utter ridiculousness of Ellen's PR spin, a masterclass in pretending your workplace isn't collapsing faster than a knockoff IKEA shelf during an earthquake. Kelly isn't exactly known for holding her tongue, and when it came to Ellen's empire of contradictions, she practically set the whole thing on fire with a verbal flamethrower.
I don't hold any grievance and resentment. It's very important. And I would just say for Ellen, the resentment, you have to get over resentment to whatever addiction or addictive qualities happen. To get over it, you have to deal with resentment and address it. And then otherwise you're going to fall back into the same pattern. And I think also to admit your mistakes.
Of all people on earth to be feeling sorry for herself, Ellen DeGeneres should not be on the list.
She should at least, but make a real apology and do it.
There's no apology.
And do it in front of the media without apologizing. For a while, they were cautious because, in 2018, it was essentially a hate crime to question Ellen America's giggling oracle of virtue. However, as soon as the floodgates opened, the reports came in too quickly. It seemed as though everyone had been keeping a secret from one another, afraid to be the first to say, hey, maybe the be kind lady isn't that kind after all. And you know it's bad when even celebrities who practically come dipped in PR Teflon start to quietly retreat from the Ellen orbit. All those strange rumors about her being cold or difficult didn't seem like petty gossip. Rather, they read more like warning signs in a horror movie that everyone ignored until it was too late. The funniest part was the excuses. They tried, they said, rolling out the typical Hollywood apologies like beads on a rosary. I'm heartbroken, and I'm heartbroken. This is essentially every passive non-apology that avoids the very real question. How do you build a brand on kindness and then allegedly run your studio like a dictatorship with a confetti budget? Naturally, Roger saw right through it as if it were made of rice paper, pointing out that Ellen was effectively operating a charity monopoly while purportedly giving out party treats that were emotional anguish. It's not how any of this works to put a rainbow sticker on your toxic sludge and call it wellness.
I agree with you. And forgiveness is great. I'm Catholic. It's just the double standard on it is very galling. Here's a clip, by the way. This is the promo for her Netflix special. And here's a clip.
Decided to take up gardening. I got chickens. Let me see what else I can tell you about that. It's been going on. Oh, yeah, I got kicked out of show business. The Be Kind girl wasn't kind. That was the headline.
Next came the interviews and the stories that were leaked. The legacy of The Ellen Show started to emerge as a result of the not-so-subtle former employees speaking out, much like one of her favorite magic acts. But this time the magician missed their lines, the rabbit was dead, and the hat was empty. Nobody wants to be hugged by a presenter who might treat their barista better than their boom mic operator, it turns out. Megyn Kelly, in the meantime, brought receipts and dissected Ellen's empire like it was a crime scene, pointing out the branding hypocrisy, the convenient shift to, I'm just the talent, when real accountability was on the table, and the whole innocent, oh gosh I didn't know routine. Can we also talk about how Ellen chose to wrap up the farewell season, trying to tie the whole scandal up in a glittering bow and thanking her staff and fans while abruptly rewriting the narrative as a tale of personal growth and misunderstanding? It was a masterclass in evading responsibility while clinging to whatever remnants of legacy remained, sort of like rebranding the Titanic as a luxury cruise with unexpected aquatic features. Joe Rogan didn't buy it, pointing out that your behavior when you're on stage handing out flat-screen TVs isn't the best method to gauge your character if your brand relies on stage generosity and the real you allegedly can't be bothered to treat people like humans. It's not just phony. It's performance art with a dash of gaslighting. It's how you treat the people who make that stage possible.
I called her out. I was like, Ellen's not that nice.
This was after you went on the show?
After I went on the show.
What was it like meeting Ellen? And is she a good person?
Let's just all go back to 2017 where I was the first person to call Ellen out before anyone else.
You called her out?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I called her out. I was like, Ellen's not that nice.
This was after you went on the show?
After I went on the show. And the world blew up about it and was like so mad at me about it. And then someone else said it. And then it was like, oh my God, Ellen's not nice. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Why do you say she's not nice?
I can't explain it. It was just really
energy?
weird. I ran into her like backstage. It was like an awkward thing. And like the producers were really scared. I was like, what's going on? They were like, that was not supposed to happen. We're going to get in trouble. It's like so weird. She was like, hey. It was like, I was like, oh, hi. Like, I was like, I'm so excited. She was like,
The most lyrical aspect of Ellen's collapse was that the very slogan she used to launch her career, "Be kind," ended up becoming the joke. Her empire fell apart in slow motion like a Jenga tower composed of ego and self-help slogans. It's a meme now. A warning story, the motivational saying you read made you wonder if the author was secretly yelling at interns. The audience was shown the machinery grinding behind the scenes by Kelly and Rogan, who didn't reveal anything new. The spell was broken when people realized the Wizard of Kindness was actually a stressed-out control freak who was allegedly screaming into a headset. The show is over, the studio lights are cold, and the audience has moved on, most likely still holding their Be Kind mugs that are now collecting dust next to a pile of broken illusions and cancelled subscriptions. Let's face it, if it weren't so depressing, the entire situation would be hilarious. No more slow-motion hugs, no more moral superiority wrapped in a sweater, no more dancing her way out of criticism. In an era where authenticity is valuable and every latte-loving guru is one tweet away from cancellation, Ellen deceived the world into believing she was a beacon of light when, in reality, she was just another celebrity using warmth as a marketing tactic. The only difference is that she put a bow on it and sold it as a lifestyle, and people actually bought it. Megyn Kelly and Joe Rogan didn't just make fun of Ellen. They reminded everyone that the emperor of daytime TV was only wearing a smile and that even that was supposedly optional off. Ellen's story serves as a warning. Don't sell kindness if you can't cash the check because someone somewhere will eventually lift the lid, and if what's inside smells like ego and broken NDAs, it's game over.